Here.
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 Present.
Here.
Here.
All present, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I just want to bring to everyone's attention, our electronic system is out at the moment, so you're going to see us shuffling a lot of papers this evening, all right? So we thank you for your patience.
Please keep the following individuals who've passed away since our last meeting in your thoughts and prayers. Kathleen Cicilline, a former Thompson Middle School paraeducator. Ruth Biello. Oh, boy. I always forget these things. Kathy Cicilline, former Thompson Middle School paraeducator. Ruth Biello, mother of Thompson Middle School plant engineer David Biello. Janice Marie Schroeder Robinson, mother of Rogers High School nurse teacher Valerie Drucken. A moment of silence, please. Thank you. Public comment. Has anyone signed up? Jennifer Hull first.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Hull. I'm a grade 3 teacher at Pell School and the vice president of the Teachers Association of Newport. As you begin to plan and budget for the 2016-17 school year, I'd like to take this opportunity to remind all of you of the many, many hours of conversation we had during negotiations around the language regarding the extremely important topic of class size. Teachers made it very clear that we thought having 23 in kindergarten and first grade and 24 in second, third, fourth, and fifth grade was excessive in the old contract. However, we reluctantly agreed to keep this class size language. In addition, was added in the event that an overage occurring however, we reluctantly to keep this class size language. In addition to that, we added some language about overages if it was to occur during the school year. It was said many times by members of this committee's negotiating team that an average would only occur well into the school year. The example of needing space in an AP class at the high school for someone who transferred in mid-year was used numerous times. It was also stated by the committee's negotiating team that the intent of the overage language was not to start the year with packed classrooms. The teachers' negotiating team, which I was a member, argued that we saw this as an attempt to pack classrooms. You assured us it was not. As a teacher in Newport, I constantly hear the phrase, read by 3. How do we get all of our students reading by grade 3? What can we do to make this happen? One simple response to begin the challenge: don't pack our classrooms with 24 plus kids. I'm asking all of you to please keep your word to the teachers, families, and especially the children in this district. Do not start the year with our classrooms packed. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Jackson?
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Jackson. I reside at 38 Dudley Ave. I've been here several times, and I appreciate each and every time that you guys hear me. I know it's on the agenda for 5.6. And I don't know if this is when I should wait for my comment. The resolution on closing the Pell School playground. as my neighbors and I have voiced many times, we don't want it completely closed. That's what we would hate to see. But if the behavior continues to go as it is, then I feel as though something needs to be given. Like sundown is such a vague word. Sundown could mean to you and I think 5, 6 o'clock, but technically it's not till 8, 9 o'clock at night. I would love to be able to enjoy quiet time in my backyard. And I know you guys have taken steps forward to resolve this, and I appreciate the effort. And I know that you're talking about putting a fence up. I'm worried about the location of the fence. If it runs exactly where the half-court black fence is, which is basically on top of the little hill and incline, then you got the hill incline, and then it's our property fence. If that runs like that, about an 8-foot fence with the green through it, it's going to allow a hiding area for kids, because what they're going to do is run behind that fence and do whatever abnormal behaviors they want to do, and you're not going to pick it up on the video cameras or anything. And then if you decide to close that area off, say at the end you bring it all the way down to the property lines like you did with the back of the gym, I'm scared we're going to run into it not getting mowed, as in the back of the gym's not getting mowed, and therefore fester other critters. So I appreciate everything. I just want to give you an eyes on what I see and hear, and as Mr. Donnelly sent you guys a message, and to be honest, that message he sent to you guys was kind of tame compared to what we hear. And I do appreciate the response and the effort, but I just want you guys to kind of think before we go and spend money. Money's far and few. It breaks my heart that we even have to do this, because I feel like it's taken out of my children and children's education. But as a person that lives back there, I want a peace of mind. I want quiet. I want to enjoy my yard. And I do thank you. That's it.
Thank you.
Ms. Jackson, at this time, we don't address this, but I think you'll hear some good news, and someone's nodding their head, so they'll address your concerns you raised. Okay? Thank you.
3.1, Elizabeth. Our final report from Elizabeth.
She has to go to the mic tonight.
You gotta come to the mic.
She's going over there.
Sorry, I sound a little funny. Unfortunately, I'm sick. I wanted to start off with sports to begin this with. I wanted to recognize the softball team for placing second place in the state championship game. You guys did really well. You represented Rogers to what we are with sportsmanship, and you all played your hearts out, and I know next year is going to be your year. Norman Daniel Bestozo represented Rogers well for states for golf. He's always doing well at the country club. He's there 24/7. Both lacrosse teams unfortunately lost in the first round of playoffs. I believe we did well as first-year programs, and I know that next year, hopefully Coach Upham and Mr. Hano bring both the teams even further in the playoffs, get better and better each year. For New England's, for boys track, Levon placed 8th, Yaku placed 15th, and Brian placed 20th. I know those three individuals really represented Newport and Rogers and Newport Public Schools as a whole, and I know Mr. Martucci always does that every year, so I think he deserves just as much recognition as those three boys do. I also wanted to conclude this with Senior Week. We just had a great Senior Week. I know graduation and prom's tomorrow and graduation's on Friday. I hope to see you all there at graduation. We had a senior banquet last night, and I just wanted to say I was so appreciative of all the parents that brought food and helped out. I did not expect that many people. I had Mr. Goss send out an email to the listserv, and so much food, and I can't get over it. I put some in the teacher's lounge, so you guys probably still have cupcakes there and stuff. But I hope that's going to stay as a tradition now. Instead of bringing in food, like paying for food or something, I think we should stay with the potluck thing. Like, let's get parents involved more. Let's keep them up and running in the high school and wanting to come to these things and bring as much food as they can. I mean, the worst case, you have all the extra food, you bring it to the soup kitchen or you bring it to Rogers. And I also wanted to say thank you to you guys. Yeah, you guys can all eat it.
Wanted to say.
You wanna introduce next year's?
Oh, yeah, I'll do that.
Wait, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Just, could you talk to them about the senior bus trip on Friday?
What was this?
Uh, Walk through, Tom?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
We're gonna start. We're gonna start a new tradition this year. Mr. Goss informed us this, I think, last week. Yeah, last week. And basically, the seniors are gonna come on Friday to Rogers at 7:30 in the morning with our cap and gown for another dress rehearsal and final graduation rehearsal. And they're gonna pack us onto buses. And I believe we're gonna start at Pell, right? Yeah. We're gonna start at Pell, and basically we're gonna start the graduation walk, and we're gonna walk through the halls. So all the little kids and middle school too, we're gonna be at Thompson. They all see what your goal is. Your goal is to cross that stage when you get to Rogers. We don't want it to be more than 4 years. We want you here 4 years, make the best of it. And I think that's gonna be a really good tradition.
I would also suggest if there's time that they take a run through City Hall. It might take an extra couple minutes, but just walk the halls, you know, the 2 floors in there. Right, but just even all the people in our city would appreciate it.
Do you want me to recognize them? Yana Tolich is going to be our president next year for this. She will be speaking. Unfortunately, she could not make it tonight. She had a last-minute obligation, and I told her not to worry about it. I'm going to pass on her information to you guys, though. But vice president is here, Jane Lees. Come on. Basically, Jane will fill in for whatever Yana can't speak at, and the following year, Jane's senior year, she'll be the main speaker. So good luck. I'm all set.
You can't go yet.
Okay. I was waiting for you to say that. Oh, and I also wanted to say thank you so much to all of you. I think you all have listened to everything that I have had to say over the past year about certain things, and I think you all are doing a great job. And I think all the faculty and staff members, all the Newport Public Schools are doing a great job. And I'm going to miss you all very much.
Coming from you, that's a compliment. After hearing Mr. Goss talk about who his real boss is, I don't know how he's going to get along without you next year. But this is just
Thank
a
you.
token of our appreciation for all you've done,
Thank
and
you.
we wish you good luck. I know you'll have much success.
Thank you.
And we're going to miss you.
I'll come back and say hi.
Mrs. Bargetta,
No, that's for the next,
that's for the next what?
that's gonna be moved to the next meeting.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Resolutions and certificates. Rogers High School boys indoor track and field and outdoor track and field will be presented by Mrs. Boland.
Well, so I'm up here to present some awards. We have a lot of the boys, well, most of the boys are not here with us tonight because they're all home studying for their finals tomorrow. And so we wanted to make sure that you knew that they had a really good reason to not be here. So what I'm going to do tonight is, first of all, ask all the boys to come up that are indoor and outdoor track, because I think we've only got maybe... Okay, well, we have...
Coaches
how about-
are here.
What?
Coaches.
We have Coach Martucci to come up here and just receive these in. I will read the names in. Oh, we do have an assistant coach, right? Charlie. Oh, yeah, Charlie Woodland, who works in carpentry. It's great that when we have coaches, it just makes it even better when our coaches work here as staff at our school. It just makes such a stronger program. And I want to thank Mr. Martucci, because he's had my boys for a total of 8 years. It's been, and he's helped to create them to be the men that they are now, and I want to thank him for those 8 years. But I'm going to try to read these names without abusing them. I guess we're going to, just so these kids get their day. And some of them you're going to hear twice because the boys do indoor and outdoor track. And Mr. Martucci may help me with some of these if I have trouble. So he's going to help me with the first one.
Nasser Salam.
Austin Alves, Franklin Antone, Mateo Bakar Varela, Riley Boland, Janald Bruce, Levon Campbell, Christian Donaldson, John Downs,
Jonathan Costa Silva.
James Garvey, Michael Garvey, James Gomes, Peter Hebda, Robert Henry, Larib Iqbal, okay, and his brother, Yaqub Iqbal, Jihad Jones, Colton Kenny, Nyrel Lockhart, Lucas Machado, Dante McCrae, Zachary McCrae, Aaron Morera, Orael Moses, Brian Neal, Lorenzo Olson Sherman, Eamon Phelps, Ben Pratt, Timothy Pratt, Henry Rayner, Casey Joe Roden, just do them loud when you get to them, Joseph Rodriguez, Daniette Severino, David Ziegler, Hunter St. Jacques, Anthony Storr, Cedric Storr, Tyler Strain, Chris Straka, Charles Taylor, Jonathan Tejada, Benjamin Trainer, Niall Walsh, and Khalil Woodland. And that's for our indoor track team. And do you want to say anything about indoor track?
Okay. Okay.
We won the Class All right, we won the Class C championship.
Yeah,
And
the third in 4 years. Pretty
third
good.
in 4 years, so that's really outstanding. My other list right there, sorry. And here's the second
No,
list, we'll
no,
go through
this
these
is
again.
Colleen. Good
And you
teacher.
understand that when you have that many guys on a team in a school with only, 275 boys, and you get that many kids to come out for your team, that's just outstanding. I mean, it doesn't get better than this. Okay, here we go again. This is for boys outdoor track and field. Terrell Bennett,
Janelle Bruce,
Levin Campbell,
Jonathan Costa Silva,
okay, Jalen Forbes, Javier Gabarito, Edward Garfalo, James Garvey, Michael Garvey, Jose
Cordado,
Sebastian Guzman, Peter Hebda, Larib Iqbal, Yaqub Iqbal, Yvonne Jackson,
Jackson, Jihad Jones,
Colton Kenny,
Rasan Kerr,
Nyrel Lockhart, Lucas Machado, Dante McCrae, Zachary McCrae, Ezra Montero, Aaron Morera, Orael Moses, Brian Neal, Lorenzo Olson Sherman,
Osiris Para,
Henry Rayner, Casey Joe Roden, Joseph Rodriguez, David Ziegler, Anthony Storr, Cedric Storr, Tyler Strain, Charles Taylor, Jonathan Tejada, Robinson Aiden Tromley, Arthur Williams, and Khalil Woodland. A lot of brother teams in there, if you saw that. So congratulations. And thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Rogers High School swim team, Class C champions.
All right, if we can have the coach, we got Coach JJ and Sarah Richards. Come on up, please. These are the Class C champs, Rogers High School boys swim team. Great job. I'll announce these guys and we'll let the coaches hand out their awards. They did a fantastic job this year representing Rogers High School. You guys did an awesome job and continue to do a great job with the swimming in the city. Michael Ashby, Tim Boucher, Graham Clower, Ian Dowling, Billy Lavigueur, Matthew Marshall, Colin Martin, Owen Martin, Tyler Miller, and Eric Vieira. Great job, guys. Awesome job. Great family. Thanks, guys. I'm going to skip to 4.8 if while I'm up
You
here.
may.
And I want to recognize our Rogers High School National History Day winners under the tutelage of Colleen Hermes. Miss Hermes, how are you? I'm skipping all the way to you guys down to 4.8. I want to recognize your group for their Rogers High School National History Day winners. So I will announce them.
Come on, Colleen.
In this, we have senior exhibit group was third place. Title was Commodore Matthew Perry. The students were Matthew Marshall and Molly Whitaker. On National History Society Award winners, we also have Matthew Marshall and Molly Whitaker.
Kathy Thompson.
And on the RISA Awards, we have Tazia Terrell, Amelia Balas, Eliza Lopes, Yana Tolich, who I guess will be speaking or taking over for you next year. But I want to say congratulations to the students and thank you very much, Mrs. Hermes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Who's next?
You're next. Rogers High School Scholar Athletes.
The Rogers High School Rhode Island Scholar Athletes for spring sports sailing, Zoe Kluwer. Fall sports girls soccer, Juliana D'Ameglio, pronounce it correctly. Spring sports boys track, Michael Garvey. Winter sports swimming, Matthew Marshall. Fall sports boys cross country, Anthony Storr. And winter sports girls swimming, Molly Whitaker. And accepting the as they say in the Oscars, accepting the awards. You're welcome.
Rogers High School softball team and Thompson girls softball team. Mrs. Sylvia, I think that's you.
I have Thompson.
Yeah. Who has Rogers? Softball.
David.
Okay. You're next. Sorry.
I am?
Yes.
Okay.
David's
All right,
I thought one person had them both.
no problem. Congratulations to all of the winners and to your coaches and family as well tonight. Madam Chair, with your indulgence and with the committee's indulgence, I'll do both 4.5 and 4.7 this evening. Tonight, we will recognize the Rogers High School girls softball team for their participation, which, again, this year, for the second year in a row, displayed tremendous sportsmanship and teamwork as they advanced on to their division championship game. So let me first of all call up Coach Dunbar somewhere. Coach Dunbar, Coach Lauren Dunbar. And we'll read off the names of Coach Dunbar's players. Izzy Booth. What we'll do in the, just to conserve time here, we'll hold our applause until all the girls are recognized. Madison Brady. Maeve Byrne. Julia Downs. Juliana D'Ameglio.
Coach, just call the girls' names.
A lot of these are attached together. Hallie Duggan. Jordan Hanos. Eliza Lopes. Michaela Matthews. Ani Murphy. Kiana McCants. Ayla Newsom. Isla Newsom, sorry. Kaylee Palmer. Jada Rios. Danielle Savage. Katie Tejada. Meg Turner. Pandora Walker. And Shannon Ward.
We also want to recognize the two assistant coaches. The first is Tricia Donnelly, who will also receive another award this evening, and the second is Karen Palmer. Now, Madam Chair, if I might, with 4.7, Warren, I see you didn't go anywhere, which is good. We'd also like to recognize Coach Dunbar as the Division III Coach of the Year for 2016.
And we have a bit of a departure from Rogers, but the Thompson girls softball team recognition. And last night, they almost made it to the championship. So we're very proud of them.
They made it to the
They made it, but they didn't win the championship. That's what I'm.
Okay, if Coach Tom Milburn and Brittany Burgess would come forward. And I'm going to ask that the team walk across the front so the camera gets a good view of all of them.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
And you too. Yes, I do. Okay. Last evening, we missed many of you at the Thompson's Honors Night because many of these girls also were inducted into the Junior National Honor Society, so we're glad you were able to make it here tonight. Lisa Bentley, Lisa, Lily Bistozo, Mary Kate Boyle, Emma Bryan, Catherine Kaparis, Alexandra Cranston, Julia Demore, I should have known, Demore, Jamaria Jackson, Mary Lees, Phoebe McDonald, Shay Milburn, Maeve Newsom, Kenzie Palmer, and Jamie Ward. Congratulations.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr.
if I may ask Mr. Milburn a question, please.
Go right ahead.
Mr. Milburn, you don't have to come to the microphone. I was wondering, there's an ad on TV that shows a football coach, and this person's, this umpire, the coach is yelling at the umpire, and he goes home, and all of a sudden he comes home, and you see him, and somebody's yelling at home, his wife, his brother's there. So I was wondering, I know your sister's the assistant coach of the high school team. I wonder if she got that from the Donnelly side of the family or the Milburn side of the family.
I just know I've never been on the front page of the picture screaming at anybody.
All right, thank you.
You gotta show passion.
I'm sure it wasn't the Donnelly side of the family.
You've all met my father.
Speaking of passion, passion for teaching is Trish Donnelly's byword. Would you come forward, please? Gotta get a lot of camera, a lot of FaceTime.
I love that.
Whereas Trish Donnelly started her career teaching as a third-grade teacher at Sullivan School in September of 1999, long time ago, and has continued her career as a third and fourth grade teacher with the Newport Public Schools for the last 17 years. And whereas Tricia Donnelly, who holds a bachelor's degree in elementary/deaf education from Flagler College, a master's degree in reading from the University of Rhode Island, and is also fluent in sign language, is currently using this degree to teach Sign 1 and Sign 2 classes at Salve Regina University. And whereas, I'm going to read every one of them. Whereas
I worked hard for every bit of it.
Tricia Donnelly sets high expectations for her students while teaching them life lessons in addition to academics. She has excellent behavior management skills and was asked by Salve Regina University to complete a presentation to new student teachers on this topic. She always completes tasks above and beyond what is asked of her and is willing to share her work with others to help them be more successful. She is also an assistant coach for the Rogers High School girls softball team. And whereas Tricia Donnelly was honored as the District Teacher of the Year by the Newport Public Schools Teacher of the Year Selection Committee. Therefore, be it resolved that Tricia Donnelly be commended by the Newport School Committee as the 2017 Newport Public Schools Teacher of the Year. Therefore, be it also resolved that a copy of this resolution be spread upon the official records of the Newport School Committee and the original be presented to Tricia Donnelly as an expression of our appreciation for her performance as a truly professional and outstanding member of the educational community and as one who has gained the respect of those whom she has served so well. Whereto the following bear witness: Joeva Gaines, Chairperson on behalf of the Newport School Committee, and Colleen Burns Germain, Superintendent of Schools. Woo!
Thank you very much. This was definitely, I keep saying this to everybody, it was completely unexpected, but it is absolutely one of the most rewarding things I think I've ever received. One of the best parts about it is the amount of former students and parents that have approached me to congratulate me, to tell me what a difference I've made in their lives. My former student teachers who come back and tell me how much of a difference I've made in their lives. My players that say the same thing, even with the passion of yelling at an umpire. I just want you to know I did win that call, too. So, not many times can you get 4 strikes for one of your batters. But I do appreciate every bit of it. This is honestly not what I thought I would be doing with my life for a career. I did not think I would be a teacher, but I cannot imagine doing anything else with my life. I absolutely love it, and I love every one of my students and players that I've had now and will have in the future. So thank you, it's very appreciated. Thank you.
Trish, Teacher of the Year, Teacher of the Year. Will you go back to the podium, please? Thank you.
Yes.
Would you please introduce your family members that are here this evening?
Well, I have a lot of family members that are here with me this evening. I will start with my father, Jack Milburn. My mother, Rosemary Milburn. My oldest brother, Tim Milburn. The middle brother, Tom Milburn. I have my nephews, Bobby Milburn and David Milburn, and David's fiancée, Hannah. I have my niece, Shay, who also won an award this evening. And I have my sister-in-law, Jen. And then I have my other sister-in-laws on the Donnelly side, so you better watch out for them. Sandy and Maureen. And I have a ton of other family members that are not blood related.
Okay.
What about your husband?
But I'm from, oh, sorry.
I was going to say, I guess you're leaving the best for last.
Wow, Mark. Wow.
That's outstanding.
And of course, my amazing husband that I could never have done any of this without. He is husband of the year. Can I leave now? Okay, thanks.
That's beautiful.
Oh, gosh.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
may I suggest we take a 5-minute recess to let these people go, and then we can probably get out the action part of the agenda. We can stay with them.
You're welcome to stay if you want, but if you have to leave, especially those students who have exams tomorrow.
We'll give a 5-minute recess and talk if you want to.
5 minutes.
Take a 5-minute recess, Madam Chair.
Okay, 5-minute recess.
Kids, huh?
Take care.
Good job, ladies. Awesome. Awesome job, girls.
At least you were cheering.
There we go. All right, guys. Great job. Congratulations. Nice one. Hey, listen. Have a nice dinner.
Awesome job. Congrats.
He's, you can keep me
Okay, all
on
right.
task
All right.
with what's next.
No chocolate. Some more, so thank you.
Okay, 5.1, action items. Superintendent recommends approval of the Superintendent of Facilities recommendation to award the following attached items. In 5.1, we have,
Madam Chair, can we have a separate vote in these, please?
yes. 5.1, the first item is the RFP number NPS 16063, install 2 LED parking lot lights to match the existing lights at Claiborne Pell Elementary School. It is it's recommended that Frank A. Toner Electric award, Frank A. Toner Company Incorporated be awarded a contract to install the 2 parking lots at Pell. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
It's moved in second. Discussion.
Madam Chair, I just want to comment and very grateful that a local company has got the bid. So many times it doesn't happen, so I'm very pleased that the local company was lower bidder than the other bidders.
Any further comments? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Second item,
This is the one.
Ellie,
bid NPS 16064, relocate and furnish and install lights at the Newport Area Career and Technical Center. The bid is submitted by Frank Toner again. It did not include the changes to the specifications that were outlined and was deemed as non-responsive. It's further recommended that Eagle Design Corporation be awarded a contract to relocate and furnish and install lights at the Area Technical Center. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Discussion. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no opposition, the motion passes. RFP number NPS 16065. Repair sawdust collection system and provide proper ventilation at sanding beaches in the Newport Area Career and Technical Center Carpentry Shop. It is recommended that ATC Incorporated be awarded a contract for repair sawdust collection system and proper ventilation at sanding benches in the NECTEC Center. Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Yes. Bid NPS 16066, install screening fence at Claiborne Pell Elementary School. It is recommended that Green Acres Landscape and Construction Company be awarded a contract for install screening fence at Claiborne Pell Elementary School for $12,858. Motion?
So moved.
Moved. Second?
Second.
It's moved in second. Discussion.
Madam Chair.
Discussion.
Mr. Leary?
No, I'll defer, Ms. Collins, if you had a question, but
David?
Just a quick question and comment. It's a great idea, or it's a great initiative. This screening, this fence structure is needed at Pell. The question is, I see Mr. Harrop, thank you. The question is, Mr. Harrop, did we, there's only one qualified bidder, and the bidder is from Lakeville, Massachusetts. Did we use the state's bid specs or the master list from the state, or did we go out and publicly submit an RFP on this? I find it hard to believe that none of our local...
We sent an RFP out soliciting bids, and Green Acres actually bids on a lot of work and completes a lot of work for the city of Newport, so they're very familiar with Newport. One thing that Green Acres did alert us to is that with fencing companies, there's been a lot of turnover, and a lot of the firms that traditionally would bid on these are no longer in business. So although we did put an RFP out on the street requesting bids, we only had one responsive bidder, and he's just suggested that in the future that we actually reach out and solicit other firms to bid on the work. But knowing the urgency, so to speak, of this project and the need to get it done, we felt that moving forward with the one qualified bid that we received was the way to go.
Outstanding, thank you. So just to clarify, I appreciate it. We went outside of the state's master list with respect to this bid.
That is correct. We put
Thank
it
you,
on the
Mr.
street
Harrop.
for bid.
Thank you.
And to answer the question that was asked, so we're putting up approximately 250 lineal feet of chain link fence with hedge slats in it for a visual screen. And I'm a parent, as most other people in here. I understand that kids like to hide. So we actually have a plan that once we install the main part of the fence, it will return back into the existing fence so that children cannot go behind it and hide. We also have a plan to have a gate in that fence so that the lawn cutting crews can get behind the fence and cut between the two fences so we don't have overgrowth. Long term, the plan is to plant what you call Virginia creeper in front of that fence. So instead of just having the hedge slats, we'll actually have natural growth growing up over the fence that will give it a better, more aesthetic appearance than just the hedge slats. So.
Any questions?
Yes.
yeah, me too.
A follow-up on my question, Madam Chair. Why the lack of interest from local? I mean, I understand if there's a very specific, if you will, contractor skill that's needed, and, you know, this could be the case with some of our ironworks or some of our, but, I mean, I can name a dozen landscape professionals in Newport alone. Why the lack of interest from?
We were surprised by that ourselves. We had 6 firms that we reached out to that actually went to Pell and looked at the site, and on the bid date, only one submitted a bid. So we were quite surprised ourselves that we only got one bid for the work. It was kind of shocking to us, so it was not expected that we would receive only one.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Leary?
Question, did you contact the neighbors about the location of the fence?
No, we did not contact the neighbors about the location of it, but what we did is we did a site of view with the location and the height of the fence to ensure that from the far side of the basketball court and the playground, that where a person was standing, from the view of the top of the windows at the house behind, the actual angle of the trajectory of the view goes to the roof line of those houses. So it'll create a visual screen to the back side of the basketball court. So we just really were trying to provide the screen that was requested.
So that any way the kids get behind, teenagers get behind that fence?
Now, again, the fence is gonna return and go back into the existing fence, so kids can't get behind it, and we'll have a gate in that fence, so the lawn care crews can get behind it and make sure we don't have overgrowth behind the fence between the two fence lines.
And I'm in favor of this, as long as the neighbors are in favor of it, you know? My last question is, which account was this line item money coming from?
We have that in some backup information.
That is actually, I spoke to Joan about that, it's coming
Yes.
out of, Joan, if you can help me with the line
It
item.
was in
It's
the
this
backup
year's funds.
information.
Oh, I did print it off, but I,
Yeah.
no, I didn't, no, I did not print that
Gives
one
the
off.
number,
No,
this is a
but we had it in backup.
I don't have that
information.
one.
Because
That
I
is
remember
actually
reading
coming out of
it.
the current year operating budget.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have it. It's 2016 repair and maintenance. All right, thank you.
Line item, Joan?
The current year, not next.
Current year.
Is in line with the 25,000 in it that we have? So we're using that from this year, okay. No problem, I just want to know where it's coming from, you know?
David?
Mrs. Jackson, one last question, since I still have the floor here.
Wait,
Mrs. Jackson, are you comfortable with this as a neighbor? I know you're the only one here, unless there's other neighbors here.
There's a bunch.
Are you
Several.
comfortable with this?
Bobby, we still have some school committee people who
Oh,
want to
okay,
speak.
I'm sorry.
Then I'll call on you.
What's the height of that fence?
It's 6 feet high, and again, we did a line
From
of-
the berm? Like,
on top of the berm, correct. So you have an existing fence there that's relatively low, that we're gonna sleeve over, increase the height to 6 feet, and then the balance of it will also be 6 feet high.
thank you.
Question? You said they're gonna have a,
Go ahead.
okay, you have a gate. Is this gate going to be secured until?
It's gonna be a secured gate, and the lawn care crews will have a key to that lock so they can get behind it
And then make
to make
sure
sure
it's-
there's no overgrowth.
Good. Question, right now, does our maintenance contract, are they supposed to be, maintaining that area?
Right now, yes.
Because I was there the other day, and it's about 3 feet high, when I visited the Jackson's backyard, which is lovely, by the way. I can see why you enjoy it.
Okay,
But they hadn't been in for a long
we
time.
will talk to them.
Okay.
Jennifer, Mrs. Jackson, any questions?
It was basically because behind the gym now, the fence that was, implemented, and it has a lock, it's supposed to have a lock, but every now and then those kids get in somehow, and the grass is about 3 feet tall. And I
Is it
would say
behind the gym or in the area where the new
behind
fence is
the
gonna
gym
go?
Where the two high fences are now, and
Okay.
on the side where the gas line is, on Lower School,
Yep.
where the gate is, and I've said stuff to the staff over at Pell, and even on days when the people are there to cut it, and even, I noticed this last cut, they didn't even do down from where the half court is, and that's a worry too, if we do this, what our tax dollars paying them to do, are they gonna take that effort to take 2 seconds time off? And my other concern is, if you ever been, the fence that goes down to block off kids from walking back and forth, they try to climb that. And I'm sure they'll try to climb this one, which is fine, because when they get over there, they're gonna figure out, I'm stuck, I gotta climb this fence again. But, and so, that's always a thought there, I just wish kids would be different. And, Virginia creepers, are those poisonous?
No, they are not. So the city arborist actually picked out the growth that he knows will grow there that is safe. It's no poisonous in those. I mean, just to add, if I can be indulged for 1 second, to increase our ability to keep people out, we also have a purchase order that was cut. We're working to get a contractor in to put in the hinged gate so vehicles cannot drive in with some bollards. So those will be installed, and the whole point is to keep vehicles off the field so they can't shine lights onto the basketball court and play at night.
Yes? The man in, okay, you first.
Have him say his name and the microphone. David, can we make him go to the
So the fence is gonna go all the way to the end of where the playground is? How
It's
far?
going to go to the end of the playground. And the city actually purchased some trees and other plants that they're planting further down along the fence.
Madam Chair,
Wait a minute,
That-
1 minute.
just a point of order. I already know this, but your name is Mr. Will Ferguson for the record, correct? And you live on Dudley Avenue? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson?
I think my question has already been answered. It just was where it was gonna start, where it was gonna begin. If I'm hearing correctly, it's gonna start on top of the black fence on top of the hill,
Correct,
connect there, go down and return back into the fence.
correct.
That was my question.
Okay, any other comments?
So, Madam Chair, if they could answer that question, is Mrs. Jackson, Mr. and Mrs. Jackson, Mr. and Mrs. Ferguson, and Mr. Donnelly, are you satisfied with this fence as is planned?
I'll leave it then, I wasn't here before this, I'll leave it to you.
It's 6 foot fence high with the, green through it, it starts up at where the half quarters and the wall, so you can come down, and then come down and then adjacent with our fences, so that kids can get back there, they'll have a gauge of the lot, make sure that it gets cut on.
So, yes or no?
I'm satisfied, I just hope.
How about you, Mr. Ferguson? Donnelly? Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Mr.
just to be very clear to the Jacksons, the Fergusons, and the Donnellys, if you are satisfied with the actions that are being taken by the school committee, the school department, city of Newport, then I will be asking for my motion or my action item later in the agenda to be pulled. I'll table my own motion. My motion relates to the hours of operation of the playground. So I should ask, or maybe I should amend Mr. Leary's question. Are you satisfied absent the hours? Are you satisfied, to what length does your degree of satisfaction extend?
I do think that we need to clarify the times. I know that city ordinance is, 8 AM to sunset. It would be nice to have a more structured time, like I said, so we can enjoy our yard, 5 o'clock,
working
6
on that.
o'clock, something of a nice time, so we're not sitting there trying to enjoy our yard when it's mosquito time, because it's sunset. And then the other thing I did remember that Ms. Boland had suggested maybe teaching kids a quick class, mannerism outside at the playground, like a gym structure thing. And I know the Celtics came in to Thompson, and it would be cool if we could somehow join with them to have them come and maybe do a thing there or something.
That's a great idea, but from the times that I've gone by there, our kids aren't the problem, it's the older kids.
It can be a variety of kids.
And how do you, they're not gonna come to any
Well,
workshop.
do it at the schools. would be
Yeah.
nice, but, to be honest, with you, the 2 kids that jumped my property line a couple of years ago was 6 were elementary kids. And they were, and then,
But that
sometimes
wasn't
you go
this
to-
year though, right? Because they are
Well, this
they
year-
are being
this
talked
year,
to.
There was some elementary kids when I was out doing my garden that were about to jump the fence and got very mouthy with me until one of them realized who I was and told the other kid, "You need to leave Miss Jackson alone. Let's go." So it varies. Like, I hate to say it's one certain age. I hate to say it's only kids, only teenagers, it's even adults get snapped. So it's like no particular way can you say, hey, it's this group, it's the variety from, I've seen, I wish I was over exaggerating, 2, 3-year-old toddlers unsupervised out there trying to climb that 12-foot, that 8-foot fence. It's scary, so I'll tell them, get down, and say, I ain't gotta listen to you when they go take them off. And I'm like, oh my. So, and then you got the adults that, you're like, why are you setting that example for our children?
Yeah.
So I wish it was simple, and I could say, yeah.
We might be on the way to solving it.
Yeah,
Let's,
I think you are,
let's,
and I do appreciate it. The step is a huge step, and if we could get clarified signs saying times, and that way too, the law can enforce it, because without a particular time, they cannot enforce it.
Madam Chair?
thank you. Yes, Ms.
One last question. I will be supporting this based on the neighbors are fine with it. My concern, Mr. Herrick, is that we only had one bid and it's about $13,000. Is that a competitive price, you think, yes or no?
That's a competitive price based upon the lineal footage. They're putting in about 250 lineal feet, and the hedge slats, which are very expensive, is actually about 4,500 of that total cost. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but
4,000,
hedge
yeah.
slats are very expensive to put in place.
Yeah, almost 5,000 for the slats, almost 5,000, right?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, any further comments?
Yeah, just one comment. In regard to the signage, so I've been talking to Colleen about signage, both for the hours and for expectations for behavior on the playground. What we were really waiting on is once the school committee gets with the city council and determines what can be approved through the ordinance for the changes in the hours that people are allowed there, then we can move forward and get signs made versus putting one set of signs up, then having to turn around and change the times on them. So we're just waiting on some direction for the times that we can tell people it's going to be closed.
And we're working
Madam
on
Chair,
that.
one last comment, if I might.
Yes.
Appreciate that comment, Mr. Harrop, but just so the families who are experiencing these challenges understand, as I've said on a few occasions, and I don't mean to correct you, Mr. Harrop, but it is the sole discretion of the Newport School Committee to set the hours of operation for schools and school grounds or any activities that take place on school grounds, in schools, etc. The council, while we appreciate consultation and collaborative work with the council, they have no input into this. So I would like to solve that issue later this evening with an action item setting actual hours. But it is not up to the council to determine the hours of the Pell School playground.
My point was working with the council because they do,
Of course.
they do have the city ordinance that then would be in conflict. And obviously you'd like to have everybody on the same page.
Right.
So,
Thank
Madam
you.
Chair,
Yes.
I wasn't going to speak up, but as I've said before, the police department, when they are called there, they are called to enforce a federal law, a state law, or a city law. An ordinance is a law, and that is why several years going back, the hours of all the playgrounds, including school playgrounds, were put in ordinance so that it could be enforced. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Just one
Dr.
short
Flowers.
remark, something I've said a number of times before, that is not just, I'm not saying just, but solely the neighbors that are being offended, really. I think we are as Newport Public Schools, because unfortunately, there are some miscreants who are abusing a fine playground, and it's just too bad that we have to put so much time and effort and money into something that never should have been abused. And we certainly can appreciate what you're going through and the fact that we have been offended also, so we hope this works one step at a time here.
And I'm looking forward to the time when we don't have to discuss this anymore, because people are going to do what they should.
Yeah.
But I thank you for your patience. It has been patience. You've shown a lot of patience. And giving us time to work through it. So, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Motion passes. What's next?
School start time.
Mason,
School start time.
did you mention anyone?
The next one is bid number NPS 16068. Was there six,
Did we do
seven?
Mason? Yeah.
That's it.
Masonry,
That's easy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
masonry repairs and associated demolition, NACTEC. It's recommended E&J Masonry Company be awarded a contract for masonry repairs and associated demolition for NACTEC at a cost of $19,437.
Motion.
It's been moved, seconded. Discussion.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
if
Larry.
Mr. Harrick could explain to the public what is entailed here and where's the money coming from?
okay, so.
I know, but they don't.
All right, so for all of the projects at NACTEC, I've had the opportunity over the past couple of weeks to actually meet with Joe DeSilva on other issues, but I specifically mentioned the projects on NACTEC to him and the use of the funds that are intended for capital improvements to NACTEC. And
Who is Joe DeSilva?
Joe DeSilva is Rhode Island Department of Education. So
Building director.
his response was good. He knows all of the projects. He likes all the projects, including one that we haven't discussed yet. Says that they are the appropriate use of that funding, and further, that funding needs to be used 100% before we can do any projects on this building and request reimbursement, because it is state-provided money and we cannot get reimbursement on money that they provided. So again, Joe DeSilva, Rhode Island Department of Education, has been briefed on all these projects. I took advantage of the opportunity at other meetings to talk to him about these. As far as the project, the title is a little bit misleading. And the reason I say it's misleading is that when we put the original bid out, we got 0 bids. So we used the Rhode Island general laws to go through the master purchase agreement and get a minor construction company to come in and give us a proposal based upon Rhode Island general law. And it's not just masonry, it's also installing the new overhead door that's needed, and also some windows downstairs so that the children that go to carpentry actually have a better classroom environment versus being in a basement with no windows to be able to see outside when they're in class. So that basically is the intent of the project, is the door and the windows, and there is related masonry with it.
Any other questions?
Mr. Herrick, if you could have, maybe, I know how much money's in the account, I believe I do, but if Joan could tell us exactly the account, and maybe while she's getting up there, the state gave us $1 million when we took over the Votech building to repair and keep it up. We put a new roof on it and something in it, but I don't want to spend that money down too quick. So I want to make sure that we need to do this in case an emergency comes up 2 or 3 years from now where you have to do something, then we have to take it out of our own funds. I believe we have X amount of dollars in the account. Joan, you can tell us that?
Right now, before these projects that were approved tonight, it's $473,875. And if you approve all of the NACTech projects, which there are 4 of them, totaling $123,493, there will be a balance remaining after these expenditures of $350,382. Please remember that the money is supposed to be spent before we can do any other
That's right.
new projects.
This isn't something we can save. Becky?
So none of these projects include the ADA that's gonna come later, right?
The ADA is going to come later, and that is engineering and design services for the ADA.
And
again,
would
that
you
needs to be
explain what the
designed.
ADA is, please?
Is that part of the 123, or is that
That's
additional?
part of the 123.
And explain ADA.
What ADA is and why?
So again, ADA is the accessibility, that's to have the unisex.
American Disability
bathroom
Act.
That's accessible, it's to take care of accessibility at the doors and the entryways coming in. And also, we have to provide accessible access to carpentry and to the automotive shop. So it's to take care of all those accessibility requirements that were identified in the survey that was completed, I believe, in April of 2015, before I came on board.
Correct.
And again, it was something that actually had earmarks of this fiscal year to have completed.
Yeah.
And it hadn't moved forward, so I'm just bringing it to the next level so we can take care of the accessibility improvements, which I believe came down to a civil rights complaint.
Absolutely.
It did.
So we're just trying to take care of those issues.
How is the carpentry being addressed, ADA?
So unfortunately, we did not direct the designers how to do it. They had to step forward and give us proposals,
Okay.
and then they're gonna
So that's
determine the
in here.
means and methods, but we believe we're gonna have to do 2 separate lifts. They're not gonna be complete elevators, they're gonna be lifts inside the building, one to access the automotive shop and one to access carpentry.
Okay. All right. Any further questions? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Bid number 16, it's great having an assistant. 16069, engineering design services for accessibility improvements. It's recommended that RGB Architects be awarded the contract for engineering design services for accessibility improvements at Newport Area Career and Technical Center for $76,000. Cecilia.
Madam Chair, I move.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Comments?
Madam Chair,
Well, first Mrs. Bowe.
Okay, so my concern is if $76,000 is going towards the design of it, do you have any idea what the cost of this? I mean, we don't have enough money left, it doesn't sound like, if just the design is $76,000.
No, and the way we'll work through that, like you do with any other construction project, is you have a base bid of the most critical requirements, then you have add alternates where, you know, if you can afford to do it, you have a number of it, but it's an add, it's not in the base bid. If you can't afford to do it, then you need to wait until you have the funding. That way you don't have a bid bust where you cannot award the project. So you make sure you take the most critical elements first, have them in the base bid, then have add-ons for the other elements of the
And
project.
I guess the next question is, how is this gonna affect, aren't we being, next year, they come in to certify us next year?
Well, that's why we gotta get it
And
done.
that's why we have to get on it, okay, just checking.
Mr.
Madam
Leary?
Chair, so, Mr. Herrick, we had one bid again? We had one bid for this architect?
Yes, we
And-
actually had about 7 firms that came to the pre-bid site visit and walked through with us. And we only received, again, one, but we had 7 firms that came and walked through the building with us for the pre-bid.
So does this include the work, or does this just include the design?
That's the design,
So we're gonna pay $76,000 for designing this without the work?
correct.
That's my concern.
I can't do that, especially not with a local firm getting it. We have local architects here.
Well, they got a bid for it,
They do. but-
and they didn't put in a bid. Any further comments?
Yeah,
Becky?
it is kind of worrisome, because how long are those, so if we do all the designing, is it the design good for a number of years? You know, if we award the contract, but can't afford, you know, I guess I'd like to hear from our, maintenance, you know, from Mr. Hanos, what he
That's-
thinks about this.
I believe it's important to give us a baseline, whatever design it is, it's all gonna be by, national code, the ADA, American Disabilities Act. So the design will stand on the value of the design itself. It has to be done before we can go out to bid. I know it's expensive, Mr. Leary, and I understand, your position on that, but it is something that we needed to do, much like the plan that we just had to get done. We need to know what it is we're gonna spend before we can start to figure out, A, where the funds are coming from, and then B, how we're gonna actually organize the work. And much like you said, we're gonna be, looked at again. They're gonna come back and re-inspect it. We're in the process of fixing things, so, you know, they can see that the work's going on. It's a necessary evil. You have to have it designed out. We can't design it for ourselves. We don't have the capacity to do that in-house.
Madam Chair, I would recommend we go out to bid for this again and let them sharpen their pencil. It's a lot of money to design a few handicap stairways, when you're gonna have $350,000 left after
more
this
than
night. If it goes past that money, you're gonna have to tap into some other fund. If some emergency happens in this building, state's gonna say, hey, we gave you $1 million, you do what you want with it. I cannot support this.
No, if you read through all,
No.
go ahead.
No, there is a process, and that's part of the revolving capital fund program that the governor has just recently put in. So when we do get to a state like that, we do get a reimbursement at a certain level. Mr. Harrop can explain a little bit further, but we have the NACTEC funding. I hear you about wanting to keep a fund or something to the side in case of emergency. But as I think you may have heard, they're not going to reimburse us anything going forward. The expectation is, long before I arrived, they did expect this money to have been put to use, and the facility was upgraded and addressed, as was noted in other reports and other reviews. So that's what that's about. Mr. Harrop can explain further. That's what we're going through right now with the reimbursement process.
So if I hear you clearly, I thought when we did this 5-year plan, everything had to be put into that plan. If it was not in it, you're not going to get the reimbursement.
Well, that is correct.
Thank you.
But
That's
the
correct.
other point to the
But you
plan
gotta
is
get the
There's
whole
another
thing.
point
Not
to
in
it.
it.
the money that was given to Newport Public Schools for this building, specific to this building, is not part of that
Right.
plan, is not required to be, and we will not get any reimbursement on any work on this building till 100% of that
We
money
want
is expended.
Correct. So let's
So-
just say, let me play hypothetical here. I won't tie up too much more time. let's say these bids come back at $500,000, and we have 350 left. The 150, we can't apply to the stakes. I thought we already put our 5-year plan in, and that was not part of it.
There are actually portions of this work that are in the 5-year plan, but because of the accessibility compliance report that was done, where they said we had to address it, we were leaning forward with the money that was given for this building, and it was explained to Joe DeSilva again at Rhode Island Department of Education, who's actually appreciative that it's moving forward, that we need to get this taken care of. So you are correct that the additional 150, if we were seeking out funds, if it became Newport Public School funds that paid that additional 150, then you would be eligible for the reimbursement on that 150,000.
So, I hate to be redundant about this, but I was this plan, the 5-year plan said everything had to be in it. And if this 150,000 wasn't in it, how are we gonna get reimbursed 30%?
I think I heard Mr. Harrop say we have
Much of this
aspects,
work
yes, is in the
that
plan.
is in that report, is
So-
also in the 5-year plan
So-
for this building.
Thank you. So clear it up just for me. Let's just say, hypothetical example, let's say we decide we're gonna do a preschool now, and we wanna take over Triplet, Coxville, and we have to remodel that building, and it happens next year, 2 years from now. Is there reimbursement in this plan for the 5-year plan or not?
There's reimbursement in this plan only if you use Newport Public Schools money, not if you use the NACTAC money that was provided by the state.
Boy, am I confused. Thank you.
Madam Chair? can
Yes,
We
Ms.
move the question. We've got a long agenda.
Is there, I just want to make sure there are no other comments. Okay, you've heard the motion. All in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
5-2. Do we have another one? Okay. 5.2. Thank you, Mr. Harrop.
Thank you, Mr. Harrop. Thank you for all your work, too. Greatly appreciate it. And Ms. Tracy, too, for getting
Thank
all
you.
the numbers together for us.
Consideration of start times for the school year. Mr. Leary?
Yes, Madam Chair. If I could defer to the principal of the high school to go through the poll. Do that.
Thank you, Mr. Leary.
What's up,
Jeff
Doug?
Goss, principal of Rogers High School. About 2 months ago, Mr. Leary and school committee asked me to start up a committee or set some workshops up. We had 3 of them to discuss start times and the possibility of moving Rogers' start time up from 7:30 to 8:15, moving Thompson's start time back, which would be to 7:45, and then moving Pell's start time to 8:45. The reason for the different changes, it all revolved around pushing the start time for the high school back 45 minutes because the high school students are starting school at 7:30 in the morning, and we wanted to see if we could get them starting a little bit later, a little more alert, on the ball. You got kids on the bus at 6:30. In order to work the buses, Thompson's start time actually had to be pushed back 15 minutes earlier. But with the poll results, kind of comes out ironically. Rogers High School had 152 people answer the survey. 55% were in favor of its start time change, 45 not in favor. So it was 55-45. Thompson Middle School had 177 people reply, 62% in favor of pushing the start time back to 38% saying no. And then Pell Elementary was 234 people responding, and that was 52-48. So the results were kind of 50-50. You know, they kind of came out in the wash. I don't think it's a good enough sample to go ahead with something this drastic of a move. We had 3 work sessions. They weren't attended all that well. We did move them around to 3 different locations. We had one here at the library, we had one at Pell, and then we had one here in this room. Variety of school committee members were there, teachers from Pell, teachers from Thompson, teachers from Rogers, parents from all 3 schools represented. But at this time, I really can't, with the research that we've done and the results of the poll. It's not overwhelming where you need to make that big change right now. That would be my recommendation.
Comments?
Madam Chair, yeah. Here's my comment. We keep on doing the same thing over and over. I want the public to take a guess. Take an idea how many instances as of May 23rd of tidiness we have. Anybody got any ideas?
50,000.
45,000 instances of tidiness. How many instances of absenteeism we have? 50,000. We keep on doing the same thing over and over. And I heard one of the teachers at one of those meetings say to me personally that sometimes, she's in the audience, I won't identify, she's not in there, say sometimes the kids come in 5 or 10 minutes late. I'm trying to move this time up, to give this opportunity to see if we can cut down on it. And I hear you that may not happen, but we're just going to continue the same way, and we'll sit here next year with another 50,000 absenteeism, and another 45,000, and before the year's done, we'll be over 50, over 60 probably some of them. This is absolutely insane that you don't support to try something new.
Can I make a motion?
Yes.
I would like to make the motion that we change the start times for the 2016-17 school year as were explained by our principal here for next year.
Second.
Okay.
It's been moved in second. Discussion can continue. I'll get to the audience in a minute. Was there a comment from one of the?
All right, I just have a comment. All right, I don't know if there's a correlation between those who are tardy now and those that will not be tardy in the future if we change the time. I just want to be really clear on that. I understand the thinking possibly, I don't know if that's what you're thinking, if we change the high school start time later, then more students will be on time. I don't know if you can draw that conclusion from the data we have now. We have had a tardy and absentee problem well before I arrived, and the initiative, the Chronic Early Absenteeism Reduced Truancy Initiative, just got started literally, I think, this year as far as being implemented, as far as practices, procedures. We still have a lot of work to go, and we have data that we're still looking at. And some of the barriers we're seeing are for high school students is transportation. If they miss the school bus, then for a lot of our students that are on the north end, it's harder for them to get here quickly because they have to do several transfers and et cetera by the time they get here. We have had a discussion with RIPTA, as a matter of fact, to see if we could get some of those routes or try to expedite that a little faster for our students. I'm just making sure you're aware of everything. The other thing is, other barriers usually have to do with family situations or individual situations, and we're finding that out. And as soon as we have that data, I'm getting a report. It was supposed to be this week. It'll be next week. I'll share it with you, and I'll share it with the staff, all the staff, so they can see it as well. I'm just putting that information out there. That's something to think about.
Personally, I don't have kids in the schools. I'm looking at the pluses and minuses of all of this, but my concern is that a fair number of people took the time to respond. And I think it might not have been overwhelming, but it's probably a little more, probably a little broader response than some national presidential elections. Let's face it, you got enough people responding. They may have represented a lot more people because maybe a parent might have said, well, geez, I have a kid at Thompson and one at Rogers, I'll just fill in for one of these. I believe the intent at the very start was when you have high school students, any students, starting very, very early, they're not just as alert. Well, maybe none of us are that alert that hour of the day. So, and because some other communities have done it in various places, it might be worth having a pilot program with this. At least we've gone public, at least we have gotten input from faculty, some from the kids. I talked to some, it's anecdotal, and, some of them said, like, why? We're so used to coming at this time. And then they chatted a little bit about some of the reasons why this would be done. I think perhaps for the teachers, maybe especially those who are teaching the first couple of periods of classes, maybe the young people might be a little more tuned in. I don't know. It'd be interesting to ask our colleagues here, in September or October. But I think because we have said we were going to get feedback from people, and we have to wait until we get the feedback we want. We'd be spinning our wheels. So maybe I think maybe we should just go ahead and pilot it at least.
Any further comments?
Madam Chair, if I could ask Principal Goss, what's the research talk about high school kids were starting a lot of time for education-wise?
The
I'm not
later
even talking
start
about,
time?
I'm not talking about tardy, I'm not talking about absenteeism, just about an educational part.
The later start time, the better they perform.
Thank you
but
very
they-
much.
And like I said, I personally like the later start time. I think it would increase our performance. I don't think it's been vetted enough through the system and through people talking about it and discussing it. I mean, look how long it took to put a fence up at Pell, but we're going to make a major decision like this with a very small attended committee meetings. So I'm just looking at my teachers who
That's what it's going to be.
who haven't vetted the process as much, haven't had a lot of discussions as much. The meetings weren't that well attended. But I will support anything. I am in favor of the later start time.
I just wanted to say that, so sometimes, we're elected to do what's best for kids, and everything that you read says what's best for kids is, especially high school kids, or later start times. So, we have tried to involve the public, by 3 public meetings and this survey, and even though it wasn't overwhelming, I'm going to vote to institute it, try it for a year, and we can always go back if there are major problems, so. just to-
I see there are a lot of hands in the audience going up. Let's hear from, I think it's a student.
I'm a teacher at Pell.
Oh, teacher.
Mike.
Sorry. You want to go to the mic?
Yeah.
I thought you were a high school student.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like you can hear me, but that's great. So I'm Mrs. Johansson. I'm a special education teacher here at Pell. I would love to go to school earlier and get out earlier, but it's not about me. So I know that, just to throw my 2 cents in, that I heard like 200 people from Pell had responded from the survey. 234. So I know between, like for Pell, there's like 900 students there, and if you throw in the 73 staff members, that's almost 1,000. And we're only really hearing, a little over than 20% of the population. And I know we could wait all day for things to change. And I'm not saying that, we should or we shouldn't. My point is that if we don't put more effort into trying to reach the community, things will never change. So this is more about changing the process and reaching people and getting people on board and inviting them to be a part. So I know sorry, I'm so nervous, I'm shaking. The website link was sent out. It wasn't broken down as clearly as I would have liked it to be, to really figure out what people liked or didn't like, because I think that it was just 3 questions, but it was all clumped together. So that was a little confusing. I thought that I really couldn't share my input or specifically me as a Pell teacher. But as a teacher, I can't just give up and say, oh, this parent didn't respond to me. I have to pick up the phone, I have to call, I'm going to email, I'm going to send them multiple things. It's important to have them engaged, and I just think that moving forward, if we could try to, push the limits here in Newport, that the payoff would be huge for us as a community. That's all. Thank you.
Was there another? I dare not say student.
I'm definitely not a student.
Okay, well, come forward and identify yourself.
Hi, I'm a speech pathologist in the district. My name is Kit Hurst. I have a few concerns. One is we talk at the high school about getting kids into school later, but with athletics, how does this affect early dismissals when getting kids to games? Football historically has had a freshman team, a JV team, and a varsity team, as does basketball. Will this cause kids to lose minutes in the classroom?
No,
No?
no, no.
It's
We-
shocking
We
to me.
depended on
Wait a
Mr.
minute.
Goss to work that out.
I also wonder with budgeting, myself being an itinerant, has that been put into place with how that is going to affect roles for next year? Will more people, more staff need to be hired because of times being changed with schedules? Has that been looked into?
Yes, it was looked into, and no, we don't have to
Colleen
hire
shaking
more
her head
staff.
no.
No, I just said, I'm saying I don't think it should. I don't think it would, but I haven't done an in-depth analysis of it, okay? You're talking about sharing the staff. We do share staff, and that's what my Director of Student Services is saying to me. So we would have to look at all that, correct?
I also wonder, so many kids, I work at Thompson and Pell, we wish that they would all take the bus, but honestly, their parents drive them. I wonder if you have kids at two different schools that aren't back to back, are parents going to just bring their kids in late to one school?
Maybe they'll ride the bus.
I don't think that they do.
Might
Seeing
have
the
to.
amount of kids who come in as car riders is astounding.
They come in late as it is. Yeah, some come in very late.
So when you look at the absence list every day at Thompson, which is centrally located, at Pell, which is centrally located, Pell is astounding how many kids come in 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes late. It appears to be way less than Thompson, and Pell has a late start time. So how much is it really gonna change? Thompson going, I don't see much change. I think that these changes are gonna be a bigger inconvenience to families than you might think it would be.
Well, that's what my concern was.
Madam Chair, if I may answer one of your questions, your start time is going to be 15 minutes difference for the
Not
elementary school.
the high
For the elementary school, correct.
The other one
Right, for
is-
elementary school,
yeah.
but you just mentioned that
Yeah.
there's numerous kids that come in 5 and 10 minutes late. You might have answered my theory. I hope we cut down on this next year, and it won't be 45,000 incidents of absenteeism, of lateness. Tardiness.
I think it's a great idea, but I think that people are just gonna be setting their alarms a little bit later and coming in the same 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Eileen.
And it was all for the
Eileen
high school.
First, and Alen,
Yeah, two of them have already been mentioned.
yeah.
Two of them have already been mentioned. My concern was
Elaine,
the
can you
athletics
identify
and how much
yourself?
instructional
Elaine,
time.
Elaine, just identify yourself for
I'm
the,
Elaine Grantham, the Director of Student Services. Two of the points that I had in my head were mentioned by both Kit with the athletics and the sharing of the staff, which honestly is a little bit of a nightmare for me, but I'll figure it out. The second piece was, I don't know how many high school families are utilizing their high school students to help with the daycare. And that, I mean, that could be an impact on families. Some of them have the early start and they pick up siblings. I've seen that in other communities. But Mr. Leary is correct. The research, most of it coming out of Brown University, does show that high school students do benefit from a later start. So it's kind of balancing the needs of the high school students also with the needs of the community too.
Maybe Mr. Goss can answer a couple of those questions. So
Mrs. Boland and I have been talking about this for a long time, and I feel like as educators, we focus on what's research-based, what's the evidence show, not about always, maybe we feel something's good, and the evidence shows coming from the American Academy of Pediatrics and the Center for Disease Control that high school students do better. There's changes in puberty with later start times, and it's about academic achievement. Like I said, Becky and I have been corresponding for a couple years about this. So it's about, do kids do better if they get more sleep? And the research shows that. So I feel like if that's what we base how we do things with reading and other things, that's from the experts that they say that. So that's kind of, I personally don't care emotionally or when my alarm's set, the same thing, I'm still gonna get up. But if, for high school students, the way their bodies are changing, sleeping later, it's better for later start times.
Mrs. Jackson?
Hi, Ms. Jackson. My name is Ms. Jackson. I have a first grader and a fifth grader. With that being said, I'm lucky enough that I will be able to bring my children to school, but if I was a single parent, having one go to school at 7:45 and another at 8:45, and the older one leaving the house before the younger one at such a drastic change, I've overheard parents say they're concerned about that. Research is research. You can throw 1,000 different researches out there, and one will say yes, the other will say no. As a parent and seeing my children go through the changes they do, I worry about the junior high children who are at the peak of puberty, are starting the change of life, along with not only that, social and environmental changes that are astronomically worse than high school. I mean, they're starting puberty. They don't even understand what's going on. Their body is stressed out from that. Their immune systems get suppressed. They do tend to get sick more. So we're going to knock them into school earlier, less sleep. And then how is the junior high school going to suffer from this? How are the children going to suffer, because they're going to be tired? And to be quite honest with you, if a child's late at Rogers is 7:30, they're going to be late at whatever time you give them. You know, it's whether or not they want to apply themselves. I had to be to school at 7:20. I worked. My mom was a single mom. I worked. I got up and I walked to school. I lived near the old ALP on Spring Street. I walked. I walked to Thompson and worked at the time too. So if you want to apply yourself and you want to build your child to be self-sufficient, they will do what is necessary if guided directly. I even know a child graduating this year that comes from not such a strong environment, but she's in the Honor Roll Society. She's going to American University. So when a person wants to apply themselves, they will. And with starting the high school later, that means later practices, later everything. We're going to end up in the same boat. It's going to be same amount of less sleep. And it is scary. It is sad. It breaks my heart, the number of children that come in late, are chronically tardy, chronically absent. And in the end, I'm just going to say, it's poor parenting. Because you have to apply yourself. You have to push your children to be better than what you are. And it's you as a parent. We can do whatever we want as a school committee, as a society, but the guideline is, as a parent, you have to stand up for your child and get them to school. And then I lost my thought, which is hard to do. There was something else I was going to say, but anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Madam Chair, if Mr. Goss could explain the sports part, it would be great.
We have Mr. Colley here as well, if he wanted to speak on it. But I do have experience with the later start time at a district in the north, where they started school at 8:30, got out at 3 o'clock. There were occasions where we had to have an early dismissal for athletes. Traditionally, your athletes are also your stronger students, and they have organizational skills and study skills to allow them that. I would, as a principal, I would follow the same policies that we had in that district, was that we limit early dismissals to the best of our ability, and we work with our athletic director and the other athletic directors to make sure we schedule start times appropriately. The disadvantage that we have at the high school level is that we don't have spring and fall athletic fields on a complex, where we can just leave the building at 2:45 and go out to our softball field or go out to our baseball. So we have to travel to our home games. So that is an additional time as well. Where you would run into some problems would be in the winter, where you're in an enclosed building where everybody's fighting for gym time over that one time, so you'd be starting the gym practices 45 minutes later. Mr. Colley, you want to join in?
Thank you. Jim Cawley, Rogers High School. Athletic-wise, I wasn't planning on addressing that. There would, of course, be challenges. There are, as Mr. Goss said, just now, regardless of start time. Golf, swimming are two sites that you use private entities, and you have to adhere to what they request. And they are usually, typically, golf always has to be requested to leave early. Off-site are challenges. The fields we use are used by the city, and it's usually requested that I start nothing later than 4 o'clock because they do have recreation programs or rental that are occurring at other facilities. That would change there. They try and use us the most, but it is also obviously for the rest of the city to use. I was going to speak more of, in the question, we talked about the research. I agree with Ms. Jackson, we've heard it before too, that if someone's going to be late at 7:30 and there's not much of a consequence for it, or they don't feel there is, or only one side is inconvenienced, and this time the teachers and the school and the families and the parents don't feel like they're inconvenienced, then why am I going to come on time, whatever time you set it at? I think that's really what it comes to. If you're late at 7:30, you're going to be late at whatever the next starting time is. I know I have a friend who is a colleague in the Barrington School District. They tried to do something fairly quickly. They did not do what Newport did and try and get the public input as quick, and there was whiplash, and they went back and they've rescinded, they've gone forth. We've talked to the research. I think the question needs to be asked is, yes, a later time is better for the kids, but I don't, what hour is that? I've seen research that says 2 hours later is the ideal time, and that anything a half hour, maybe less than an hour, is really insignificant to what that change is. So is it change for the sake of change, or is there actual hard research that states half hour does going to make that much difference? And I know, again, speaking of, if other districts that have changed, have we reached out to them to see what hang-ups they had, what pros and cons did they learn from their time change? Because talking to other athletic directors specifically about that, yes, they've had some things they've had to change, and I know in other districts it was the high school students being responsible for the elementary students and helping the families out, getting them on the bus, or the other side, getting them off the bus where it's an incurred expense that now they have to pay a babysitter or somebody else to come get them before or after because there's not a parent or an older child available.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Mr. Leary?
I obviously support this, this is my motion on there, but I think Dr. Flowers' idea of a pilot year is a good idea. Because you gotta sit here and think, whether anybody knows or not, your test results are not the best, and especially at the high school. So you need to see what you can do with 45 minutes change of time. And let's also look at whether, and maybe it won't happen, but 45,000 incidents of tardiness and 50,000 incidents of absenteeism rings loud to me. And I have to support trying something different.
I was just, Jen? No, I'm gonna go to you. She's had a turn already. She can come back.
I think that Mr. Cawley hit the nail on the head when he said that there are no consequences.
Yeah.
You know, I have 5 kids that are chronically tardy, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. And every now and then I get a little folded up piece of paper in my mailbox to go home to their parents. And I like peek inside of it, and it's just like a letter letting the parents know that so-and-so has been tardy, 45 days, and we really need them to school on time, but there is no consequence for it, and the same thing for the absences. There's no, I was discussing today, we have a little boy in 4th grade who has missed 1 year of school. And in his career, he has missed 180 plus days.
Did he pass?
Oh, well, we don't have a choice. We're not allowed to retain kids, Mr. Leary. So it's just, there's no consequences, so why wouldn't you just continue to do it? So that's as a and then also the tardy thing, when they come in tardy, they also come in carrying food, so they bring all so they're late and they need breakfast. A lot of them, not all, but a lot. So you have a kid that comes in, you're trying to get the class rolling, and you've got literally a buffet going on in your classroom. So it's a challenge. It's a challenge. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Sandra,
Madam Chair.
one minute. Mrs. Dr. Flowers, then
I think
Mr.
when Jen said there are no consequences, the consequence is that the kiddo is not learning. That's one of the main things, and what I'm going to say, and like I say, I'm kind of trying to balance all of this, because there apparently have been some instances where, I think you had mentioned at one of the meetings that the kids on the golf team, they have to leave earlier.
Yeah, golf and swim.
But class is going on still, and you know the old line, "I wasn't there when you taught it"? And that's what's going to happen. We could have, a certain group, and as you say, fairly often probably, the kids who are in athletics are the ones who are focused. The fact remains is they can lose. I don't know how much longer we can wait to make a decision, because what is the time frame for dealing with the bus company? And remember, we're bringing kids in, I should say bringing students in for NACTIC, and we bus some of the private school youngsters out to other places. So is there a time frame that we really have to make a decision?
Tonight.
Yeah, this is it, yeah.
Mr. Carlin?
It's going to be go or no go on this.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for Ms. Hole, please. Ms. Hole?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Jennifer?
Yes?
What do you mean by you can't retain them? Are we socially promoting students out of grades?
Yes.
Yes.
That is,
Yes.
that's entirely inappropriate, and I know it's not something that the teachers, absolutely, I know it's not something that the teachers want to do. We should have, that is not the answer to the tardyism problem or the absentee problem. Well, the discussion is relevant, I think, Madam Chair, because it was brought up by a teacher, and I was not aware that we were not able to retain students who have missed a year of school. This is totally inappropriate.
And let me be clear, this student didn't miss a year like
No, I
this
understand,
year.
absolutely, and I appreciate it, Jen. I thank you for speaking up on this. This is something I had no idea about. We are retaining students.
It's not, let me rewind a little bit. We're not allowed to retain kids. It's a long process. It's not done lightly. We know that it's not always, it's never done without it being in the child's best interest. There's research to say it's good, it's bad, it's not. We know all that. All I can speak to is this particular year, there have been a few instances where retention has been recommended by the teacher, and it has been denied.
Are you
That's
aware
all I'm
if this
saying.
is happening at the middle school and the high school as
I
well?
have no idea.
I'd really like to let the discussion remain on the question of start time. We'll take that up at another venue. Yes,
Just the one thing, you guys kind of threw a softball out there for me, so I'll address it about the no punishments. It would be great if we could hire paraeducators to run an in-school suspension, in-school restriction room, because currently we only have two forms of punishment. It's detention or suspension. If a kid comes in tardy, we assign them detention. They don't sign up for detention. It is illegal to suspend them for an attendance-based reason. So you put them in school restriction, it's not a suspension, as long as a special educator comes into that room and addresses anyone with an IEP, and you get all their coursework for them. That right there will reduce tardies to school.
yeah.
So
Madam
thank you
Chair.
for that
And it
softball.
hurts. It hurts a lot more than out of school.
Yes.
A question for Mr. Goss, if I could. You can't suspend a student
It's illegal.
for
That's
You
correct.
can't suspend a kid for skipping school, skipping class, leaving school.
And this is a
State law.
rule by RIDE or a state law?
State of Rhode Island.
State law.
It was initiated about 3 years ago.
The reason the law was put forward was because we were actually doing something we were trying not to do, and it was prohibiting students from attending school, and most of the students that are late, are skipping, are students that need schooling the most. So at a few years back, they did institute this. The other thing is, as far as, and I'm going to take a little step further. Part of the thing about retention is the data shows, especially at the early grades, you retain someone in the early grades, their chances of not graduating on time are diminished greatly. So that is one of the things. So instead of retaining, what we've started to do and what we're doing this year is we're telling families their children must attend, ramp up programs, need additional supports and remedial attention, because the sooner we address it, rather than letting it continue, the more resources and funding we put into those intervention programs, all those other things, instead of promoting more opportunities for students to thrive. And I think that's a shift that a lot of us have to think about. I think it's something that all of us need to educate ourselves about. And I think we have to think about where we're putting our resources as far as supports. The struggle is when you have juniors and high school students that are supporting, they do need supports. But if you took a lot of supports and put them down at the elementary level and prohibited those students from not learning or help them to get better and get on grade level earlier, we'd have more funding to put towards more successful programming.
This is a great, Madam Chair, I believe I
And
still
I think
have
it's
the
a great
floor.
topic for the next meeting.
This is a great discussion tonight, but I've learned two things. I was somewhat prepared to support this initiative, but I've learned two things this evening. We socially promote students, and we have no consequence for students being tardy or absent or skipping school. Well, what the hell is the trial year or no trial year? What difference is it going to make? They will do the same thing until the State General Assembly apparently changes the law that was enacted 3 years ago, or until this district gets serious about ending social promotion.
Don't do
Would you-
social promotion.
Would you stand?
We don't do it.
Introduce
Put it
yourself.
on the agenda.
I'm Anna Kimes. I'm a Rogers High School English teacher. And what I'm hearing from this discussion, I think it's a really good discussion. And the English teacher in me is synthesizing. And I'm backwards mapping to the original, I think, Jim said it. What is the question?
Yeah.
So the motion on the floor is, do we want to move start times? And why? What's the purpose? So listening to the discussion, I've gleaned out 5 issues, and they are separate. We have a truancy issue, we have chronic tardies, and we have absenteeism. That's one issue. We're concerned about high school achievement. I think that's the original research has shown, and again, research can show a lot of different things. So I'm going to get to the research piece in a second. The third issue is this social promotion. Okay, that has come up, and how we hold students accountable to meeting a standards-based learning. But that's a third issue. The fourth issue is parent engagement, okay, and how we need to get better. We need to not quit on getting the majority of parents involved. And we've acknowledged that our listservs are not updated. We've acknowledged we have work to do. But that's another issue, how we're going to get parents involved and how we're going to reach them and try to get the majority of the voice. And then the fifth issue is this accountability, okay, and how we change and shape culture. And there's in-school suspension, there's restorative practice, there's a lot of really philosophical ways. But that's 5 big issues, and the motion on the floor, I think, is speaking to student achievement in high school students. Yeah. I'm torn. I honestly don't know. I see pros and cons. But the discussion is bringing up all this other stuff. And honestly, again, back to the English teacher in me, I think all of that synthesized together is really talking about why our reading levels are so low and why our students are struggling. And I don't believe a student sits at home and says, I don't care about being successful. I don't believe a parent. I know there's all kinds of parenting. I don't think you'll find a parent that will ever sit down and say to you, I don't want my child to be happy. I don't want them to succeed. I don't care. They might feel frustrated, they might feel lost, but I don't think that's the sentiment. So there's a lot going on, and this is a huge discussion. And I'm just trying to kind of bring it back. My mind was spinning out. And so we're back to the motion on the floor, which is, do we want to try? Do we want to change the start times? And I believe, I don't want to speak for the school committee, but I believe it's to increase student achievement for high schoolers. I don't know the research studies that you're using, and that's my last point, is that you can, like you said, research it's all on how you interpret it. And, you know, we can go on and on about valid and reliable, and longitudinal, and your N. But I think there's a lot going on here, and that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Thanks, Nana. Go ahead.
Just real quickly, I think we need to set up a meeting on this promotion thing. As a school committee member, I'm kind of shocked. If you think, and it is 48,000, 45,000 tardy and 50,000 absenteeism, there's probably kids, a lot of them, probably a lot of kids are out 40 days a year or more. I mean, that's phenomenal when you think about it. Being a former math teacher, I can't imagine a kid how he missed 40 days and still pass them. So we need to look, as far as the committee is concerned, as whether the policy of the Newport School Committee is social promotion, or whatever you want to call it or not. So I'd recommend that we have an agenda item for probably our August meeting or a workshop in July, that we discuss this as a committee. Because right now, I'm not a fan of passing these kids on with 40 and 50 days absent a year. No, mind more than that. You know, how can you sit there and say they got to work? Just get them.
I haven't made any comment tonight because I too am torn. I really believe that a later start time for high school is beneficial to the students. I'm extremely disappointed in the lack of participation we've had from the community, parents in particular. I thought that we were doing the best thing for the community by inviting community input and not doing as Barrington did, just saying this is what we're going to do. If we had more money, we would not have moved the start times for Thompson and Pell's. We did that strictly to avoid the cost of adding buses. Was that a decision made for educational value? No. That was a financial decision. I really believe the start time would benefit the high school students. But I'm not so sure that we shouldn't do this on a very limited basis, if we do it at all, and have parents understand that it's a one-year trial. And I think they will finally get the message that they need to get involved and have their voices heard. So I would still reluctantly support the motion, but I'm not as enthusiastic about it as I was when I first started this journey. Mrs. Sylvia?
I was just curious on the talk about truancy. Does the truancy court
Oh,
still?
that's a whole nother story.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Another
I
night.
know one of the judges that used to cover it
Well,
would yell at the parents.
Well, it's the effectiveness of it that, the lack of effectiveness. Further comments? Sandra?
I think just have to reinforce that the effort to improve attendance and for the young people to come to school on time has been going on for a number of years in the few years that I've been on. So we cannot ever say that the school committee has, just pushed that off. It's been one of our major goals. Again, getting the word out to the families is the difficult thing, because a lot of the points that people brought up, I had said, what about the people who are leaving early? What about the athletics, kids who have jobs? The fact that because we're tied into the bus schedule is why we're, dealing with all this. Perhaps piloting this. I mean, obviously, if we start in September, it has to go through. That's all.
And remember, we do have other schools that depend on the
And they
same
have to-
buses
yeah.
that we have. So we can't delay making
No.
a decision.
Either do it or
So
fish or cut bait.
I'd like to hear from the superintendent. I know. I know she didn't want to hear that, but
All right, so,
that's why you get the big
right,
bucks.
the research does show, and as Mr. Goss acknowledged, that for high school students, as Ms. Boland said and as Mrs. Sykert said, that students that start later, for student achievement at the high school level, it is much better. I don't know, I agree with what I hear from Mrs. Jackson, that a lot of it has to do with parenting and students, and as they grow older, being responsible for one's actions or not actions, and whether they come to school on time. It does have other implications outside of the student achievement area. It has implications starting just with staff, just with our own employees. We have our own employees that are going to have to reshift, redo what they need to do as far as their child care or whatever their practices are in the morning before they come to work. That's the first thing. Got to think about that. Second thing is, as far as the bus schedules, we got to get this to the bus companies as soon as possible. And because we do have to consider the other schools that we do bus other school systems throughout this district. And I don't know if that's going to have any financial implications or not, or what that's going to do for our partners that we will be sharing our buses with. So that's another consideration we have to have. To pilot something like this for 1 year only does make me kind of wonder if it's, is that going to, the only reason I would think a pilot, when you pilot it 1 year, it's going to be really, really bad, that everyone's going to say, oh, switch it back quickly. Because piloting for 1 year, like any kind of change, takes time for people to understand, to accept, and then change their own adult behaviors and routines in their homes. You all know, when you think about it, when your children go to a different level of school, and it's the first one, your first one, going to the middle school or the high school, it changes the whole family dynamic and the whole family routine. So that's something else we all have to consider and think about. I came into this meeting this evening knowing that it was a prerogative of the school committee, and of course I work for the school committee and I do what the school committee asks. I did not, except for I will say I was surprised with the Thompson response. Thompson seemed to be the one school that really seemed to favor the change in the start time, which that did surprise me. I don't know. It was a mix. As parents and guardians.
72%.
72%. So that right there did make me pause when I saw that one.
Yeah, with the Thompson, there was 177 responders, 129 were parents.
Okay. So that did make me think either way, really, as far as changing the bus schedule. I do think it has a lot of implications, and again, a 1 year pilot, I don't know if that's going to give us enough time to see if it's working or not working.
That's the thing, that's another.
Is the word pilot in my motion?
No.
No,
Okay.
we were just.
No, I just heard that.
Yeah, right, it's not in the motion.
No, I
Okay.
had said, I had used that word.
That's exactly right. We change things, but how are we going to measure whether the change has
You have to
been
wait.
successful or not? In 1 year, I don't think you're going to get test scores or anything else in time to do that. So you might have to do it for a longer
3-year
period
period.
of time. But it's within your prerogative and your powers. And I don't agree with Mr. Leary very often, but he's probably right about you've got to change something. And years ago, he doesn't remember, you had that power of the 40-day policy, that if someone were unexcused and absent for 40 days, they needed to go to summer school to pass that grade. Then it became onerous for some reason.
Because we discontinued summer school.
And, oh, that's right, we didn't have enough money to do summer school.
Right.
So the money told us that we're going to get rid of holding people responsible for themselves and their children. And I blame, as Mrs. Jackson does, it starts with the home, and then, but we can't let them go. It's still our responsibility,
Yeah.
once they get out of that house, to take care of them. So I hope whatever you decide is fine with me, because I won't have to drive my grandson to his sitter anymore.
Well, are we ready to vote?
Jeez,
I don't know how I'm gonna vote.
I don't.
What are we voting on?
We are voting on on
We've had two
changing-
motions on the floor.
No, we don't. No, we don't. We only have one motion on the floor, and that is to change the start time.
Did I not hear Mrs. Boland say, "I move to amend"?
No, you did not.
She asked if the word pilot was in.
No, this was many, many minutes ago.
No.
I don't think so. No, you didn't.
No, she did not make that motion.
No.
I'm looking for it.
It's right here.
Would you like them,
Me to read it?
do you want to
Yes,
read it
would
again,
you?
please? Or someone read it, please?
My motion is to move the start times for the 2016-17 school year for Rogers High School, 8:15 a.m. start, 2:45 dismissal. Thompson Middle School, 7:45 a.m. start, 2:15 dismissal. Pell Elementary School, 8:45 a.m. start, 3:15 dismissal.
Same as Pell, isn't it?
No, it's not. It goes after that. It'll goes in later.
Okay. You don't know what the time is being, or would it stay the same?
It's 15 minutes later. I know it's 15 minutes later.
Okay.
May I?
Which means.
Yes. Go right ahead. Were you saying something?
All right, so my question I'm asking right here, what if it has a big financial implication? Is it going to depend on that, or we're just going to do it?
Yes,
I thought we had worked that out already, that we worked it out with the bus company.
Correct.
And the reason we moved the elementary and the middle school was to avoid a large financial problem.
Correct. The prior bus company, according to the conversation I had with them, said as long as the elementary school is the last one,
Yeah.
most buses, and as long as there's a half hour between each one of them, they
that's
did not
what-
have a
That's why
problem.
it's an odd.
I don't know about new bids right now,
Now,
but,
do we
you know,
need to get that in writing? Or, well, we haven't done the contract yet. have we?
Yeah.
Right, I just have to remind everyone, we're in the middle of a bidding process right now.
Right.
We could, seeing as they haven't responded yet, we could send out that information if it passes this evening. Couldn't we? We could be proactive. Instead of them asking a question, we could offer them information. Because they haven't responded. Aren't they responding
I would
this
just-
upcoming Friday?
I would just ask that I speak to purchasing about that and make sure we follow the proper bidding procedures, because we do sometimes have regulations we have to follow regarding that, especially if we're changing something in the middle of a bid process.
Is it possible, Mrs. Boland, to make our motion contingent on the financial implications of transportation? And we can come back as a committee if there's we'll call a special meeting.
If that means it's going to pass, I'm more likely to say that, so that we would have to, if it found that there were large
Yes.
financial implications.
But at any rate, once we get the financial information, we'll come back at a special meeting.
No, but I want it tonight, I want to pass
Oh,
it still.
yes.
Okay,
I'm just
You don't
saying,
want to table it?
yes,
put that
No.
contingency in the motion.
okay.
Okay.
Can you,
Now you
You have to
can.
amend the motion.
can you
Okay,
amend
so we
your
can amend the
motion?
motion
Yes.
to read,
So,
this is
Contingent
contingent on there not being huge financial implications,
for transportation.
which would have to be, we'd have to reevaluate.
Find the money, yeah.
Reevaluate,
Okay.
thank you.
If you also consider, Thompson has fifth grade elementary kids in there too, so you're asking elementary kids to be to school at 7:45.
No, we're asking,
Fifth
yes,
grade is
yes,
elementary.
yes.
Just
Yeah.
15 minutes, so,
Yes,
15
only
minutes.
15 minutes.
Just 15 minutes. Is it?
Okay. All right, somebody second that?
I'll second that.
Okay, we'll vote on the amendment first to make the motion contingent upon lack of severe financial implications for transportation.
Okay.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Amendment opposed,
Opposed?
6-1. The amendment passes.
The amendment passed.
Now,
Now you got to vote
the
on the
main
whole thing.
motion.
Well, the one I
With
just
the
read.
amendment.
Just
I just read it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All in favor of the motion?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
6-1.
No,
Oh,
no. Hold it.
5-2.
5-2. Okay.
Sorry about that. Okay,
Okay. Try it.
where am I? Okay. Financial disbursement?
Carlin.
Mr. Carlin?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Earlier, we had the,
Excuse me, a grant from Goldman Sachs.
At this time, I'm recommending the acceptance of a grant that was received by one of our high school teachers in the math department. I'm sorry, trying to get the back up in front of me. Maria Tavarozzi. I'm just asking for the acceptance of this grant from the Goldman
So moved.
Sachs
Second.
Philanthropy
It's been
Fund.
moved and seconded. Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 5.4, financial disbursements. Mr. Carlin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's very simple. Earlier this evening, we had the Division III Coach of the Year, Coach Dunbar, with us, who explained to me that there is an opportunity for 7 of her young ladies, players on the team, to attend a softball banquet at Wright's Farm on June 20th in Burrillville. I asked what the cost was for the young ladies to attend. It's $20 a person. Unfortunately, before I had time to discuss it further with Ms. Dunbar, she paid the bill for all these young ladies to attend and for herself and 2 other coaches. While that's admirable, we've got the money somewhere. Let's reimburse Ms. Dunbar, please. I move the motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion?
Yeah.
Hand in the air.
Okay,
Is there
so
funding?
I'm always, like, behind our athletes, but what I'm afraid of here is that we're starting, to set a precedence of covering these meals. In the past, I guess we need Mr. Colley to come up and tell us how my sons, I will say, I don't believe that my sons, the senior athletes, usually that go to these, are not covered. So Mr. Colley can maybe tell us, because this could become, it wouldn't just be the softball team then, it's going to be every team, for every sport, and that's worrisome, that's all. I don't want Mrs. Dunbar to pay for this either.
No, I should have left, though. No, coaches associations operate on their own. And softball in particular ran up a debt, which is why they went somewhere else. And they were told they couldn't raise dues for the schools to pay anymore to cover their, they left a few $1,000s they owed to the, what was it, some hotel. They had their banquet at the past couple of years, didn't pay the bill. So schools and athletic directors association got wind of that and said they can't raise dues and say that's how they're going to fund their debt, by making the kids and everybody else pay more. So, no, those operate on their own.
Is this only softball?
No, every coaches associations, the league does not
Cover them anymore?
have any postseason awards that they hand out except at tournaments. The all division, all state are all done either by media or select coaches associations, which, albeit great to recognize the kids for all these things, usually come at a price tag that, yes, you can go and see Riley get awarded for this, but it's going to cost you $25 for a pasta dinner. And, you'll spend $50 before you know it. He may get a piece of paper, might have his name spelled right, might not, and then there's phone calls to, it's spelled wrong, and, well, we can't fix that, and it just becomes a thing. So I think it's Pandora's box you'd like to stay away from. That coaches have been, Mr. Carlin told, if that's what they like to do, then they can, but if otherwise, if we have funds, if I know someone can't make it and they'll do that, then we'll, yes, absolutely look to find a way to do that, but otherwise, I don't recommend.
Supporting.
Thank you.
That was my point too, every sport.
No, go to Mike.
Every sport has those banquets. I mean, just being a parent of 5 children, I've spent hundreds of dollars for these dinners, and it is an expense that you don't have to go. It's not a required event, and it is a slippery slope. A lot of the other districts will have the booster clubs, which is the athletic parent organizations that will help sponsor these things. So I'm kind of feeling, I don't know if Newport has a boosters club, but I know in other communities, that's how they fund these types of events when students can't afford to go.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
I agree. It was also very generous of the coach, but I think it would set a very bad precedent, and I won't
Take it out of the school
support
committee
motion.
contingent fund. We've got $4,300 in there. It's $260. We're asking to pay. I can't believe we're even having a discussion about this.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
If everyone's done, can we move the question?
No, I still have one thing to say about the, it just kind of threw me off to hear him talk. But the dinner, they've asked, every team is asked to do fundraising. And so I'm not sure, I'm sure the softball team probably did their share of it, but maybe this is something now they're going to have to think about a little bit more for the team if they want to cover it, to fundraise. And I've heard that the Boosters Club does match the fundraising, like some of the fundraising. Is that correct, Mrs. Hermes? So they will match what you raise. So I just think, like you said.
There are other avenues.
Yeah.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion fails, 6-1. 5.5, restructuring of Newport School Department. Mr. Carlin.
Motion speaks for itself. I move it.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Discussion. I have a question about the process here of restructuring the school department administrative responsibilities. This, to me, is a form of an organizational chart. And according to state law, the school committee is advised to approve such a document, but it is not authorized to create the document. So I really do approve that an organizational structure is something that everybody should have. I don't know what ours is. I'm not sure that our new superintendent has developed one that is ready for disbursement. But I would like some discussion around the fact that we need we do need an organizational chart, and I'd like it to come from the administration and not from the school committee. Further comment? Mrs.
As I've said before, that I think that, I know that we as the school committee must be always aware of what our limited duties and responsibilities are. And restructuring a part of the central administration or schools or anything of that sort should be in the hands of really the experts, the people in administration. I don't feel as though, besides the fact that that is not our purview, I feel that we leave this to the people who are the ones who are the experts in that field. And I don't think anyone sitting here really is. So I could not support this.
Further comment?
Madam Chair?
Yes,
If I
Mr.
could ask
Leary?
Joan, the business manager, to come to the microphone, please. Could you, for next year's budget, I'm looking at my notes, and I think it's $375,000 short, even with a full 4% from the council. Is that correct, or is that changed?
Ms. Leary, how does that relate to the motion?
Well, I'm going to ask if there's going to be a staff reduction, with how much it's going to save.
A staff reduction?
Is there a staff reduction in the motion?
Staff reduction. It's administration reduction.
So I guess I'm looking at May's report here, and it shows us it's 375,000 short with the full 4% from 515.
Sorry, we balanced the budget.
We balanced it?
Yes, that was what was presented to you and to the city council.
Okay, so,
I don't understand why you're saying it's short for next year's budget.
I'm looking right here, 17 revenue, upping up to you. It says it's $375,708 short. I'm sorry.
You'll bring it to her?
Yeah.
That's the difference between the preliminary 17 budget and the 16 projected.
That's,
This is the 17 budget.
So the 375,000 would be,
Where is
you
this?
trying to see for what reasons? For being short for
Where is this?
past things?
Yeah, this restructure.
I'm projecting that,
All right,
I
yep,
understand.
You got it? Thank you.
At that point in time that publication in your hand was done,
Yes,
I was
that's actually right.
projecting that 16, we would have an excess of revenues over expenditures of 374,000. I was projecting that we would have a balanced budget next year, and the difference between this year's projected surplus and next year's zero surplus is what you're looking at.
So, I guess,
So at that point in time, where it's at a $374,000 surplus, if you look
Right.
at tonight's
Because it's
report,
part of this.
I'm projecting less, 271,000.
Eliminating someone from a.
And to balance next year's budget, we used a $250,000 use of that surplus
okay,
Does that also include the Article 31 money at this point, right?
So this,
to make the
this new,
374 for this year, yes.
so this proposal of restructuring would eliminate someone from your office.
Not from my office that I know of,
no, no.
unless
This-
it's me.
No, no. It eliminates the,
But you're
Oh,
telling
wait, just a
well,
minute.
that's why I called you up here, Joe, and I wanted to break the news to you. I'm sorry, no.
I will say that when I briefly read that yesterday, I was unable to get it off of Board Docs today. I believe the position in the net effect of things is a position that's mostly funded by federal grants, or half funded by federal grants.
correct.
Well, this is one of the reasons why
Correct.
I think
So to your
any-
point, it doesn't have an impact on the local budget.
This is why I'm thinking that any organizational chart should have administrative input. It should not be a declaration by the school committee to impose it, because we obviously don't know that much about the organizational structure. There needs to be a conversation around this effort. I'll read it. In an effort to provide for the most efficient and effective delivery of education for all Newport Public School students and stakeholders, including but not limited to students from districts outside of Newport, the Newport School Committee hereby authorizes the following administrative directives to be initiated by the superintendent of the Newport Public Schools, effective Monday, July 11th, 2016. Why that date?
July 1st.
The director of the Pathways in Technology, Early College High School, which is our PTech program, shall assume responsibilities for the Newport Area Career and Technical Center,
Which he has now.
which he already has, as well as all previously defined responsibilities as director of PTech. Now, the Newport School Committee does not appoint personnel. We advise and consent. Appointments are made by the superintendent for all positions below the superintendent of schools. Director of ALP at Rogers High School and vice principal of Rogers High School, as defined by the administration, shall hereby assume the position of interim principal of Rogers High School. So I guess that means we get rid of
No AP.
no AP,
No AP.
ALP.
Madam Chair, you said you were reading,
No,
you said you
no.
were reading
No.
the action item. You're adding in some commentary. Can you
That's
read the
right.
action item?
That's my privilege.
Well, I'm sure it
The
is, but don't tell
principal-
people you're reading the action item
Well,
and then
just
make them think that your
don't-
commentary is a part of the action item. It's not.
I think it's obvious where my comments are.
It may be
It's
to me
anyone-
and to the members, but what about the audience or the audience watching at
The
home?
audience is not stupid.
Never
The
suggested that.
principal of Rogers High School shall hereby assume the position of Assistant Superintendent of the Newport Public School System. That's the superintendent's job. That's my comment. Notwithstanding said move, the position of Assistant Superintendent of the Newport Public School System shall, effective July 30th, 2016, hereby be known as Director of Curriculum for the Newport Public School System. Furthermore, the Superintendent of the Newport Public School System is hereby prohibited from moving forward with the interviewing, hiring, and any and all other personnel actions related to the position of Assistant Superintendent of the Newport Public School System. Aside from date-specific instructions, said moves by the Newport School Committee shall expire on June 30th, 2017. So all of this for 1 year. I don't understand it. I don't know what the motive behind this is, but if I were the superintendent, I would begin looking for other jobs.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just think that the proposal is outrageous. I think it's a violation of state law, and I wish it would be withdrawn. I definitely will not support it.
Any further comment?
May I?
Yes.
So when I arrived, the high school was not fully staffed. I heard complaints about it. Teachers wanted it fully staffed. They had been cut back as far as leadership positions and roles, etc. So my first year here, I called back every teacher that had been laid off except for one teacher and tried to build back the staff that was needed and that I heard from teachers had been decimated prior to my arrival. So we increased the number of staff. We went through a very tough budget year. I came in with a deficit, and I came into this district knowing that it had strong financial challenges. The following year, again, we have struggles, and I had to lay off people. And I could not keep the staff we had there, but we wound up keeping as much as possible. As a matter of fact, we got new staff. We have new people, some people that were in this district before I got here, and they got called back, and they're here now. And then I heard about the structure of the high school. We didn't have the administration in place to provide the supports, to do what was needed, etc. And one of the most telling comments that came from the Nellie Mae Foundation when they visited in the fall was, we don't have an assistant principal. We don't have an assistant principal here at this high school. We did have an assistant principal, but the assistant principal was over here helping to grow a career and tech program that many on this board and on this committee wanted to see grow and expand because it was the right thing to do for students, it's the right thing to do for children, so that they would have multiple opportunities when they came to the high school. We wanted a high school to flourish. When I first arrived here, some people thought I was trying to close Rogers High School because there had just recently been some talk about joining with Middletown. And I went to the high school staff and I told them that's the last thing I wanted to do. And so we get the career and tech up. This year, we had a 65% increase in application rates. Every class is full except for one. And we are being successful. The data shows it, the numbers show it. The other challenge when I came here was the graduation rate. The graduation rate was the second from the lowest in the state. And so we worked on that. We focused on that specifically on the ALP because we identified where the needs were. We also brought on a very talented and bright Director of Student Services that helped realign and create a K through 12, PK through 12 structure so that our students could be successful, so our teachers could have support, so we could have the paraeducators in the classroom to support. And guess what? Our graduation rate increased. It was at 68%. It is now at 82 for Rogers, 84, 79, or 80 for the district, because we can't, if we do district-wide, we have to look at our out-of-district placements. So one of the things I do, I sit here right now, and I see this proposal, and I wonder what's going to be next. Is it going to be the middle school? Are we going to restructure that? Am I going to get a proposal on the table right here for the middle school? Or is it going to be something in the teachers' area? Is it going to be department chairs? Is it going to be teacher structure? That's what I wonder. And some people may laugh and think it's funny. I don't think this is funny. This is very serious. If we ever dare to do something like this anywhere else, I can't imagine how people could support this. How people could arbitrarily just want to come in and change a structure that, as far as the data is showing me, is being successful. The attendance rate is even improving. And if someone wants to prove me wrong, please bring the data to my office tomorrow and do that. There's been no discussion. I understand if there's been discussion, I would understand. But to have it in one night, just presented, put on table for an action item, I agree with the chair. I'm very confused, and I don't know why it's being brought forward. I suspect I have my reasons why, but it's not for data. I just say, I'm sorry.
One of the statements in the Code of Basic Management Principles and Ethical School Standards for School Committees is number 12, to work with other committee members to establish effective board policies and to delegate authority for the administration of the schools to the superintendent. This is pure administration, not policy. Further comments? I thought I saw, okay.
I have to refer to Mrs. Sylvia's comments. I couldn't have said it better. It is egregious. It appears, I can't get into anyone's head, of course, but it appears that there is a personal agenda here. And different times people, teachers or parents, whoever will say, you know, can you help me? Can you answer a question? All I can say is, I can try and I can lead you to